All right, let's jump straight into it. Today we're unpacking a seriously chilling supernatural story known as Barish Main Chudale, which translates to Witch in the Rain. Now, on the surface, sure, it sounds like your standard terrifying ghost story, but in this explainer, we're going to completely strip away that illusion. We're going to look at the actual nuts and bolts of how a true nightmare is constructed. Everything from psychological warfare to the literal manipulation of physical space. So if you're into understanding exactly how horror elements piece together to completely trap a protagonist, you are definitely in for a treat today. Just listen to this. He who comes in the rain does not return. Imagine seeing this blood-red warning suddenly appear written on a door right as the power cuts out and the locks click shut all by themselves. It's honestly the perfect anchor for today's presentation. We're following a guy named Madan, who finds himself trapped in this inescapable, heavy atmospheric horror. This single line right here, it sets the absolute boundary of the trap. It's telling the victim, and us, that the natural world is gone and the rules of the supernatural are fully in charge now.
You know what makes this story so incredibly effective? It's the contrast. Think about it. On one hand, you have Madan's incredibly mundane reality. He's just an unemployed city broker who moved back to his village, just trying to scrape by selling real estate. He genuinely thinks he's just out there inspecting a pristine, empty new property for a client. But then, on the other hand, you have the actual setting. It's this isolated two-story house, totally surrounded by thick mud and just consumed by torrential rain. He has literally no idea that this boring real estate gig is on a total collision course with a dark reality waiting out there in the storm. And that sets up the classic horror trope perfectly, doesn't it? When Madan gets this assignment, the village chief's guy gives him this one very specific, incredibly ominous rule. If it rains, do not spend the night. I mean, come on, that is a rule practically begging to be broken. It immediately ramps up the tension for us because, well, we know the rain is coming. This warning acts as the exact trigger mechanism for the haunting. The absolute second that torrential downpour starts, that contract of safety is completely shredded. From there, things go downhill fast, and the terror escalates in these perfect, methodical steps. First, wet footprints just appear out of nowhere, tracking right into the room. Next, this old wooden almirah, which absolutely was not there a minute ago, suddenly appears, and there's a dripping red sari hanging inside it. And finally, when Madan looks into a mirror, his reflection is totally gone. Instead, there's a terrifying woman with a chalk-white face and dead black eyes standing right behind him. The entity uses these intense sensory details, like the slow sobbing of a woman or the relentless dripping of water, to just chip away at Madan's sanity before it fully reveals itself. And this is where Madan gets caught in what we call a spatial loop. Basically, it's a supernatural phenomenon where the victim tries to physically run away, but they just keep getting rerouted back to square one. Madan literally kicks the door open and sprints out into the blinding rain. But here's the kicker. No matter which direction he runs or how desperately he tries to get off the property, every single path spits him out right back at the front door of this cursed house. The haunting isn't just happening inside the walls anymore. It has literally swallowed the entire geography around it. Check out this timeline, because the pacing here is just relentless. At 0 minutes, he makes his break out the door. 1 minute in, he can't even see 5 steps ahead of him and just eats it, falling face first into the mud. He scrambles up and runs blindly through this violent storm for 5 solid minutes, just desperate to find a way out. And at 6 minutes, boom, he arrives back at the exact same house. This is the exact moment it hits Madan that the physical space around him has been completely hijacked. He isn't lost, he's in a cage. But it's not just visual tricks. The environment is aggressively attacking his illusion of safety. First off, his phone network goes completely dead, so he is totally cut off from the outside world. Then, those human footprints on the floor, they literally morph into 4 long animal-like claws. The pristine room he was just in suddenly turns into a dump with a broken, soaking wet bed. And then, and this is probably the most terrifying part, the mattress slowly sinks down exactly as if some massive, invisible weight is laying on it. The entity is basically proving to him that the past isn't dead at all. It's bleeding right into the present. Okay, so just when Madan thinks he's finally caught a break and snapped out of the spatial loop, he spots a guy on the road holding a lantern. A classic false savior setup. Madan is practically begging for help, telling him he's lost. But when the guy lifts the lantern to his face, it's horrifying. He doesn't say a word. He just slowly raises a finger and points right behind Madan. He's directing Madan to look at the absolute worst possible thing. The wet woman isn't hunting him by herself anymore. She's standing there with a whole crowd of blurry, wet shadows behind her, and they are multiplying with every single flash of lightning. The nightmare just got a whole lot bigger. Section 1. The Backstory Breakdown. So, Madan somehow manages to flee and actually finds shelter in an old man's hut under a peepal tree. Now, what's fascinating about this narrative is how it anchors all that crazy supernatural stuff we just saw into a very real, very tragic human crime. This isn't random horror, it's all about karmic retribution. Decades ago, on this very spot, lived a newlywed named Mala who was abandoned by her husband. Some greedy villagers really wanted her prime piece of land. So one night, during a massive storm, exactly like the one Madan is trapped in, they broke in. There was a struggle, she hit her head, and she died. To cover it up, they literally bulldozed her house and built the new property right on top of it. That greed birthed a deeply twisted, vengeful spirit, and now she curses absolutely anyone who steps foot on her stolen land during the rain. And this is where the old man drops an absolute bombshell. Madan is pleading with him, saying, "Look, I didn't mean to wake her up." And the old man just looks at him and says, "You weren't called, you were sent." Talk about a massive paradigm shift. This completely changes Madan from just being some unlucky guy in the wrong place at the wrong time into a specific targeted pawn in a curse that's decades old. He didn't stumble into this trap, someone deliberately pushed him in. Which naturally leads us to a massive question. Who on earth is Raghuvir? The old man points to Madan's pocket. Madan, shaking at this point, pulls out a folded map of the property. Right there at the bottom, signed in bright red ink, is the name of his client, Raghuvir, the guy who supposedly moved to the city and hired Madan to sell this pristine new house. And this sets us up for the ultimate, jaw-dropping twist of the story. Right as a massive crack of lightning strikes, the old man reveals it. Raghuvir died 20 years ago. Wow. So Madan was never working for a living person to begin with. The ghost of a dead man, most likely one of those original greedy villagers who committed the murder, actually orchestrated this entire fake real estate deal just to feed another fresh soul to Mala's curse. The client, the payday, the job, it was 100% an elaborate supernatural lure. Instantly, and I mean literally in the blink of an eye, the hut and the old man just vanish. And Madan is dumped right back in front of the house. But the whole illusion is completely shattered now. Just compare the spotless, dust-free house Madan thought he was inspecting earlier with what he's actually looking at now. The lightning flashes, and you see the house for what it really is. The walls are caked in moss, the windows are blown out, the doors are rotting. It is literally a ruined shell masking a grave. That pristine house, it never even existed in the physical world. And if that wasn't enough, standing right there in front of this rotting structure, Madan's phone suddenly rings. It's a colleague from town. Madan frantically tells him he's standing in front of the new house, and his colleague's response is just bone-chilling. Madan, there is no new house there. That right there is the final undeniable confirmation. From the very second he stepped onto that property, his entire reality was being completely manipulated by the spirits trapped there. Now you'd think surviving the night means it's over, right? Not quite, because one terrifying night awakens countless restless spirits. Fast forward a bit. Madan is back in his own home, safe and sound in the city. But then, a heavy downpour starts up again outside. Suddenly, there's a knock on his window. He looks over, and it's a wet hand. When the lightning flashes this time, he doesn't just see Mala. He sees multiple black-eyed shadows staring right at him through the glass. The curse didn't stay at the property, it followed him home. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly unsettling thought to wrap up today's explainer. If the rain was able to awaken Mala's story, how many other incomplete, cursed tales are just out there, waiting in the storm? It really makes you think about how physical spaces might actually absorb human trauma, doesn't it? It makes you wonder what other dark, buried histories might be hidden right under our own feet, just waiting for the perfect conditions, like a heavy torrential rain, to finally claw their way back to the surface. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. And hey, next time it rains, maybe double check exactly who you're working for.